Hi guys. I wanted to make sure that you guys understand how to do lesson IIS 1.2. So I wanted to do a little bit of a pre-teach. Okay. First off, we actually know both forms of slope-intercept form, y is equal to mx plus b, and standard form, ax plus by is equal to c. Now, standard form, the variables on one side of the equation and the numbers on the other side of the equation. Both of these are linear equations, just so you know. Okay. So even before we start, I wanted to review something we already know and say that you're solving this equation using pouches and coins. And your goal was to find out what y is equal to. Now, when you're solving for y, you're looking at the same side of the equation and saying, which one should I get rid of first? And since this one's further away, this is a positive 12, you're going to subtract 12 from both sides of the equation in order to move it over. At that point, you're left over with a 3y on the left-hand side. But since you can combine this, 9 minus 12 is equal to negative 3. And you can combine like terms right there. Okay. Second step, you're still looking at the y, but you want to isolate it by canceling out this 3. So instead of multiplying by 3, you're going to divide by 3 to cancel this out. You want to make sure that you do that on both sides of the equation. And that's why your final answer is y is equal to negative 1. Now, what you're going to be working on, and I'm actually basically going to do part A for you. This is a question for part A. And the idea is, if you look at this, the variables are on the left-hand side of the equation and the numbers on the other side. So this is in standard form. What I want to do is I want to be able to switch it from standard form to slope-intercept form, which is my goal. So for it to make it look like slope-intercept form, the y has to be isolated. It has to end up with y is equal to. So similar to the one on the left, I want this y isolated. In other words, I need to move this thing and this thing just like this question that you already know how to do. Now, in order to isolate that, just like this, I want to move this out of the way. Now, this time it's a 12x, so I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides of the equation. It cancels on the left-hand side just like before, and I'm still left with 3y on the left-hand side of the equation. The difference here is 9 and negative 12x are not like terms with each other, so I'm going to just write it as negative 12x and that number 9. Okay. You could have written 9 minus 12x, but keeping in mind that the goal is mx plus b with the x in the front and the number at the end, I'm just going to keep it in that order. Second step is also the same as what we already did. You want to get rid of the 3. Since I want to isolate my y by getting rid of the 3, I'm going to divide by 3 on the top and the bottom. And I want to do that to both sides of the equation. Now, when I do it to both sides of the equation, see how there's 2 parts? You want to make sure that you do it to each of the 2 parts. In other words, the equation should be y is equal to, this is going to end up being negative 4x, and 9 divided by 3, that's going to become a positive 3. So here is your end solution. And if you look at this one, this is in slope intercept form. Okay. So this is what we're actually going to be doing in part A. Okay. Let me show you the printout of part A that I have to see who's correct and who's not. Your answer should end up being negative 4x plus 3. So, when you're looking at Jared, he's correct. Mia, he's correct, because it ends up at negative 4x plus 3. But look at these two. They made a mistake somewhere. Okay? So, let's see what mistake they made. The first thing they did was they subtracted 12x from both sides of the equation to cancel this out. So 9 minus 12x. Now, they wrote it in the wrong order, but it's still correct. When they moved to the next step, they wanted to divide by 3. They did divide this part by 3, but they forgot to divide this portion by 3. And that's why this one should have been a negative 4 right there. Okay. Allie is also wrong because, let's see, subtract 12x from both sides of the equation, so up to this point is correct. Divided by 3, divided by 3, divided by 3. So this part is correct. Okay. The very, very last step. If you look at this number, this is the number positive 3, and this is the number negative 4x. When they rewrote it, they made this into a positive and made this into a negative. So they should have just carried it as a negative 4x and then a positive 3. And that would have been the correct answer. So they made a mistake in the very, very last line. So I'm also going to do C1 for you. Okay. So basically, if you look at the directions, you're doing two different things in two completely opposite ways. If you look at these questions are not in slope-intercept form, but the objective is to make it into slope-intercept form. So this is similar to part A, whereas this kind of is in slope-intercept form, and they want you to change it into standard form. So let me actually write the equation. So the goal is to collect both sides of the both variables on the left hand side and put the number on the right hand side. Examining what we have right now, I have one variable on the left hand side, but I have another variable on the right hand side, so I should be moving this over. In other words, add 3x to both sides of the equation. Same idea as pouches and coins to move things over. And now that I don't have this part cancels out, I'm only left with a 5 on the right hand side, whereas the left hand side, I have two terms which are not like terms with each other. So let me write down the 3x and then plus the y. If you look at this, it kind of resembles the ax plus by is equal to c, where the variables are on the left hand side of the equation. By the way, b is 1, and the numbers on the right hand side of the equation. Okay. You'll be working up to D2, and you can skip D3. That's your homework assignment for today. Hope you're all doing well.